Welcome to RCAM. I'm your host, Ryan, and thank you for tuning in today, you wonderful people. And if you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell, and stay notified. So today, we are going to be reading some Am I the A-hole threads on Reddit. And I always find myself just kind of floored by some of the comments that I see. Some of the dilemmas people find themselves in asking this time-old question, am I the a-hole? So I figured we'd read some together and use our deductive reasoning to determine if the person is in fact the a-hole. So we'll just get right into it today. So this first thread is, am I the a-hole? I splurged and bought me something after my wife told me no. Now, initially, just based on the headline, it does already feel like, yes, you probably are. But let's read and see what actually happened. So I'm a 38 male, and my wife is my wife 35 male. What? My brain is trying to. I think he means female. I'm assuming yes. Yes. That has to be an error. I'll just call her Kelly. God, this is probably a trans guy. That's probably no. All right, let's keep going. Have been together 9 years, married for 5, and we have 2 kids. Recently, I've been getting into sim racing, mainly Assetto Corsa. For some context, I'm a long distance trucker working 50 plus hours a week, making around 170K a year. Now I know what I'm doing if my current day job fails me. I will become a trucker. 107 people are sleeping on the trucking industry. Just by the way, just throwing that out there. At least for now until, AI robots take your jobs, but I digress. I'm usually home on Sundays, but that's not always the case. When I am home, I usually try to do something with my family. But since I found this new hobby, I've been spending more time there. Not looking good, buddy. Kelly hasn't liked it as I am not home as much, so when I am, she wants my family time. Perfectly understandable. Yes, I agree. Yet, since I can't race while working, I really don't have any time except when I'm home. Within the last year, she has wanted a hot tub and a new car. I've bought her both since money is not an issue, and they would be nice. So, about 2 years ago, I brought up the idea that since no one ever rides with me in my truck, I could install a sim rig in the passenger seat. I've seen it done before and thought it would be the best of both worlds as I could race when I am not driving and when home we can have family time. That actually sounds like a pretty solid plan to me. She immediately shot down the idea saying it's just gonna be a huge waste of money. And your hot tub wasn't, Kelly? Your hot tub wasn't a waste of money? The hot tub that you only use, 3 times a year, maybe 4 if you have guests over just to show it off, and then it sits there collecting algae and dust. Anyway, so without her knowing, I took off last Monday and Tuesday to have my friend who builds custom sim rigs build one into my passenger seat. After everything was done, and bought rig, PC, wheel, shifter, monitors, etc. It came to about $3,700. Nothing compared to what went into her $5,000 hot tub and $39,000 car. Everything is collapsible, so I can see it. So I can see while driving, so it's not a driving hazard and doesn't affect her at all. When I came home this Sunday and she saw it, she went ballistic, cussing me out and left me to walk home. That's not good, man. That's not good. I park my truck at my shop. Kelly comes to pick me up and drives me home. So after a 40-minute walk, I made it home to see she took the kids to her mother's and wanted to talk about making smart financial decisions. This made me mad as we have a large savings account and an emergency fund. So what's wrong with me spending my hard-earned money to splurge a bit on myself? She is a stay-at-home mom, and it has been that way since we met. I do all I can to make sure she has everything she needs and is happy, but I can't have a sim rig to relax and have some fun with the boys. Am I the a-hole? So I've been going back and forth here, and I have to say that you are actually the a-hole, and not for the reason probably everybody else is saying. So you do deserve, if you're making that type of money every year, you're working 50 plus hours a week, you've proposed this idea to have this sim rig installed into your vehicle so that you can maximize the time you spend with your family. That's great. That's awesome. That is actually a good idea. That is forward thinking. And you presented your wife with a very reasonable plan. All right. Now, where you become the a-hole is that you didn't behave like a man and you ended up lying. You ended up going behind your wife's back. What you should have done, what would have been the smart thing to do, would have been to put your foot down like a man and not a little whiny baby, not a little, coward, and said, "No, honey, I'm I'm sorry you feel that way, but you want to know what wasn't a smart financial decision? Buying a $5,000 hot tub. You want to know what else wasn't a smart financial decision? Buying a $39,000 car when there are cheaper alternatives available. But you want to know what? Because I love you, I went ahead and bought you what you desired. Now, since I make this money, I'm going to go ahead and buy this, whether you like it or not. And I'm just going to be forthright with you and tell you that we can spend the money very clearly. I try to have a reasonable conversation with you. You're not being reasonable, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Now, yeah, she'd be angry, but she'd get over it. She'd deal with it, and she wouldn't really have a leg to stand on because, at least if everything that I'm reading is correct, then she, you sound like you treat your wife pretty well, all right? But where you messed up was hiding it, going behind her back. Just be forthright. Be a man. Say what you mean and mean what you say and stand by it. So, with that said, I do think, yeah, yep, you are, but not for the reasons likely everybody else is saying. So let's see. So the verdict from at least Reddit is leaning toward you are the a-hole. Oh, sounds like somebody else agrees. It definitely sounds like I make the money while she's only a stay-at-home mom, so I buy her things. If you don't think being a stay-at-home mom is a financially good decision for your family anymore, it's just a discussion to have together. Big purchases should be discussed with both of you, both you and your wife, is what I'm assuming. It says if you didn't think the hotel, oh my god, run this thing through spell check, please, was a good idea, or that the cheaper car allowed more savings, that's a discussion to have. A car isn't a hobby, a car is a necessity in most places. And you have two kids, so she needs a safe vehicle to take them places. Are you not going to use the hot tub at all? You had less than 1 day a week home and then started doing a hobby that often took away from that. Now you are presenting this new purchase as a, look, I'm making more time for the family. You took 2 days off to install. All right, well, it's 2 days off to install things. It's not that big of a deal. Couldn't you take 2 days off so that you had family time when you see them like 3 days a month? When does she ever have time for hobbies? How well did you explain this thing you were buying I've never heard of. Her immediate shooting things down while not seemingly budget conscious in general also sucks. The kids are not the a-holes, poor kids. People keep saying that it's his money and she's a stay-at-home. Like, what? She is home alone all the time. She's pissed off because you don't prioritize your family. After starting with this new hobby, you say you'll spend more time with them if you can play on your routes, but will you truly? I don't think she believes you. Well, I mean, we kind of have to just take him at his word right now. It's like we're inferring a lot, you know, uh, we're inferring that she's by herself or she's spending time with her family, and we're assuming that you know uh, he wants to work 50 plus hours a week instead of that he has to work 50 hours a week to support their lifestyle. So I do think he made some very reasonable approaches, but it seems like most people are in agreement. Uh, Buying a vehicle for your wife who uses it to drive herself and your children around isn't the same as dumping 4K into a hobby only you enjoy. Yeah, but I do think he's allowed to enjoy, like, have some hobbies that he can enjoy. Now, again, I don't think he should have gone behind her back, but I still think he should have just put his foot down and be like, no, I'm going to do this. I've done the math. It makes sense to me, and got her on board, and maybe begrudgingly got her on board. Anyway, let's move on. Next one. Am I the a-hole for refusing to drive if my wife is in the car? For years after we got married, I could never figure out why I would be so angry and moody anytime my wife and I went somewhere. Then it finally clicked. I was only in a bad mood if I drove with my wife. My wife is the absolute worst backseat driver I have ever seen. Doesn't matter how I drive, she still finds things to complain about. Why did you go this way? If you would have went that way, we would be there by now. You're driving too fast. You're driving too slow. You could have made that light uneffing real. That light was red and you blew through it. Can you brake any harder, idiot? There are 17 great parking spots and you had to choose spot 18, which is the absolute worst. God, I could hear this in my brain right now. And it already sucks. You turned your blinker on too late. You turned your blinker on too early. You are accelerating so slowly. Whoa, was it necessary to accelerate that quick? God, this lady sounds like a nightmare. So for the past couple of years, I've refused to drive, and I now make her do all the driving. And lo and behold, I am no longer a grumpy person when we travel. She now has gotten upset that she now is always driving and told me I need to at least split the driving 50-50 with her. So I told her if she could keep her opinions to herself while I was driving, then I would. She agreed. So last weekend, I started driving. She couldn't even last 3 minutes without criticizing my driving. I pulled over and told her I'm done. Either she takes over driving or we're going home. She eventually took the wheel, as she muttered that I drive like a moron, even though there's only one of us who has any tickets and has at-fault accidents on their record, and it's not me. So am I the a-hole for refusing to drive if she's present? No. No. But your wife is absolutely an a-hole because she is... Forget the driving stuff, right? She is just brazenly disrespectful. Like, my wife wouldn't even think about talking to me that way because she loves me and I love her, and we have a mutual respect for each other. And I'll even admit so let me word this right. All right, I am not a good driver in day-to-day situations because I'm aloof. But if I'm in high pressure situations, I am a good driver. Like if I'm in a snowstorm, rainstorm, some hazardous situation is happening, I'm good at, having good reflexes and driving through difficult situations. It's just, casual driving where I'm just, people feel like they're in danger when they're in their car with me. And even so, my wife still treats me with respect. She'll say, oh, honey, slow down, not excessively. It's once in a while. And she certainly doesn't call me an idiot or belittle me and ignore me when we have a conversation and we make an agreement, and then she ignores that agreement 3 minutes into the trip. So yeah, this wife sounds god awful. I'm just being honest with you. So she is definitely the a-hole in this situation. But I will add a caveat. You do need to be a man and tell her that this behavior is unacceptable. That if your marriage is going to work, she needs to respect you. So all this comes back to, if you haven't been able to tell, I'm really big on respect. And if his wife doesn't learn to respect him as a man, like this is going to extend beyond just the car. And obviously, clearly, it puts this guy in a bad mood. And I'd be in a bad mood too if my wife is calling me an idiot and treating me like a piece of trash. Especially too if she has a worse record than I. Like, shut up. Who are you to talk? Who are you? So I think the wife is definitely the a-hole. Let's see what some other people say. She's calling you an idiot and a moron. It sounds like you came up with a perfectly reasonable solution. She can't complain about your driving and force you to drive and call you names. That's not okay. I think you did the right thing. You are not the a-hole. Spot on. Want to complain about it? Here's the wheel. Show me how it's done. Yeah, that was a clever move. I thought that was smart. Well played. Well played, sir. All right, next one. Am I the a-hole for agreeing with my daughter? It is weird for her friend's mom to have access to their conversations. My daughter is 14 years old and has a friend, Chloe. She and Chloe have been friends for a little over a year now. Chloe's mom, Gina, is someone I'd consider pretty strict. I was aware she checked Chloe's phone, and I know a lot of parents do this, but I found out a few months ago that through my daughter that she'd respond through Chloe's phone to Chloe's friends, including my daughter. All right, that is a little weird. It was never anything overkill, just Chloe can't talk right now, she's busy with homework or whatever. I thought this was odd, but didn't say anything to Gina about it because that's her life and that's her business. I got a call from Gina earlier this afternoon. She was very pissed off and told me that my daughter was rude and I needed to start monitoring what she says. I asked her what exactly happened, and she said my daughter gave her an attitude via text. I was still very confused and asked why they were texting. Gina became exasperated and snapped through Chloe's phone. I told her I'd call her back and asked my daughter specifically what happened. My daughter willingly showed me her text. She had text. Oh man, this is long. Hold on a second. I need to take a sip of water. I'm dehydrating. All right. Where was I? Well, she had texted Chloe something. Gina had responded using Chloe's phone, saying Chloe was busy. My daughter replied, asking when Chloe would be available to talk. Gina told her, when she's ready, stop texting her. My daughter replied, you don't have to be so rude. Gina said she wasn't being rude. My daughter said, yes, Gina was, and also called her a weirdo for using Chloe's phone. I told my daughter next time, just don't engage. I did also say it wasn't kind to call someone a weirdo and not to do it again, but that I also understand her frustrations. I didn't punish her. She seemed receptive to the talk and left it at that. I called Gina back and told her I'd spoken to my daughter and handled the problem. Gina started ranting that I need to monitor my daughter's phone. And I've seen some of the things she talks about. She started on crushes, rants about teachers, saying there were times my daughter bad-mouthed me when frustrated. I said, that's all fine. I'd rather her have a safe space to vent with her friends. After all, she's a teenager. One thing I do want to just add before I get into kind of my verdict here is that I don't think it is fine for her daughter to be bad-mouthing her to her friend. We've normalized in our culture that it's normal to disrespect our parents. And that's just normal. That's just normal teenage behavior for them to start hating you when they get older. No, it's not. That's not normal. That's abnormal. We used to have a time period where families loved each other and had respect for each other, and they honored each other, and that doesn't seem like that to me. So anyway, Gina kept pressing the issue and what would be done. I told her nothing. Well, so I think Gina now is crossing a line. Like, all right, lady, you parent your kid one way. I parent my kid another way. What I do with my daughter is none of your damn business, and you can go kick rocks. So anyway, I told her nothing. I spoke with my daughter and handled it. Gina said, but she insulted an adult. I told her I handled it, but my daughter also didn't say uh, that wasn't true. Gina was acting like a weirdo. Now, Gina is angry at me. My daughter doesn't care that I said all this. However, my husband thinks that I shouldn't have said it as it didn't solve anything, and Gina can parent how she wants. I said I never commented on Gina's parenting until she tried to undermine or insult mine. Am I the a-hole? Mm, I'm gonna say no. No. I think the other mom is the a-hole. Now, obviously the daughter shouldn't have disrespected her, and the right thing, whether the daughter wants to or not, is to ultimately apologize for calling her a weirdo. Because she may have misinterpreted what Gina was saying, because she says when she's ready, stop texting her. Um, when you're a parent, you're saying things on the fly. Sometimes texts come off as rude. It could have just been like, "Hey, just stop texting her. Stop texting her." It didn't. She might have not been rude, and this girl took it as rude. But then again, she's also a child, so you got to have a little bit of grace for that. So I do think the mom Gina is being a little bit extreme in this situation, and a little bit ridiculous, if I'm being honest. So let's see what everybody else is saying. Not the a-hole, but truthfully, Gina is psycho weird and seems obsessed to punish your daughter. Yeah, yeah. The second somebody is recommending how to punish my own kid, that's when they lose me. Like, all right, shut up. Because even if my daughter was in the wrong, now you're annoying me. All right, you don't tell me how to parent my kid. I won't tell you how to parent your kid. You handle your business. I told you I talked to my daughter. I talked to my daughter. Blah 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 blah. But it doesn't seem like that's the case here. Your daughter may think she has a safe space with her friend, but Gina can manipulate what your daughter is saying. Gina can also impersonate your daughter's friend and have her expose something personal. Unfortunately, I wouldn't let my daughter be close friends with this person. There's a big liability for your daughter to go to Gina's home, text her when the mother is constantly monitoring with psycho intentions. Yeah, too. I do think it's a little weird that she's responding. She could just tell her daughter to respond and tell her that she's busy, or she could just take away the phone and just not respond at all. You know. Also, just to throw one little piece into this, how old did they say they were? 14. Let's see, 14 years old. So my verdict has changed actually, because both these parents are the a-holes for giving their 14-year-old children smartphones. Dumb, dumb, dumb idea. Never a good idea. And this is just another example of that. Never a good idea to give your kids smartphones, which I'm presuming that's what it is. Maybe a dumb phone, maybe, but I highly doubt that. Another person said, it seems like Gina isn't going to allow Chloe to talk to my daughter anymore via text anyway. My daughter feels confident they can still talk at school, so hopefully that'll cut the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs out of our lives. This is an interesting additional concern. You need to assure your daughter understands that when she's talking to her friend, she may not be talking to her friend. Yeah. I probably wouldn't talk to somebody like that anyway, just because I don't want to be having a conversation with their parents. That is a little weird. Parents shouldn't be having conversation with other people's children, especially if they're not aware of it. All right, next one. Let's see. And this is going to be my last one. And full disclosure, I did not read this, so I don't know. I don't know what we're walking into, boys. It's uncharted territory. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to go on vacation with my stepmother? 15 years ago, my 20 female father emotionally cheated on my mother with my stepmother. God, this is weird already. Since then, my father has never been bothered to introduce me to my stepmother. What? 15 years ago, my 20 female 20, my 20 female father emotionally cheated on my mother. Since then, my father has not been bothered to introduce me to my stepmother. I remember hanging out with her and my sister once when I was 7, but never again after that. Then 7 years later, we went to London, UK. 2 years after that, we went together to the F1 Grand Prix. The two vacations were, however, not really enjoyable for me because of my stepmother. For whatever reason, she is really controlling toward my dad and therefore also toward me. My dad caves every time my stepmother berates him or wants something from him, but I don't, and she doesn't like that. An example for that would be that she said she didn't want me to have a key for my dad's house because my mother could take the key to visit my father. My mother has a boyfriend of 7 years. She also forbids my father from going to events my mom's at. They are both uh, they are both in a canoeing club in the same city. Because of that, my dad never goes to those events and he's visibly sad about it. My stepmother once went nuts because they were on a picture together with 50 other people. If you need more examples or clarification, just ask me, blah, blah, blah. For the reasons named above and many more, I decided I don't want any contact with my stepmother anymore. My dad was really sad about it and tried to talk me out of it, but I didn't care. I thought he understood me since I haven't seen my stepmother for 2 years now, but recently he brought up a new vacation with her because both my stepmother and stepsister enjoy F1, and so do I and my family. And he thought we could visit a race together. Due to my past experience, I politely declined and mentioned our past relationship and what went wrong in the first place. He acknowledged it, but didn't drop the subject. After that, I kind of caved since I really do love F1. He offered um, of the coming with them. However, insisted of having my own hotel room and sitting on a different grandstand for the race days. My dad absolutely disliked the idea, saying it wouldn't be a combined vacation if I did that. I then told him I didn't want a combined vacation because of my stepmother and her behavior. He then said he was very disappointed in me and that wished I could just do this for him since he really just wants us to be a family together. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to go on vacation with my stepmother? I would pay for my own hotel and ticket, eating and doing a little sightseeing seeing would be done together, but I'd keep my distance for the rest. My stepmother is not my dad's wife, just his girlfriend. They don't live together. Yeah, no, I don't think you are the a-hole, actually. I mean, technically, she's not even your stepmother. She's just some lady your dad is dating, and you are under no obligation to commit to any sort of relationship. Now, I would say if they were married, that might be something to reconsider because, she's in your dad's life for the long haul. But since they're not, no, I don't think you're under any obligation. I thought, yeah, even having the idea of buying your own hotel room and your own ticket and all this other stuff is good, and just keeping your distance is fine. I get your dad wanting to be being a little bit heartbroken, but maybe could have made the best of doing some things together, maybe not everything together during this race. So yeah, not the a-hole. Let's see what everybody else is saying. Not the a-hole. Your dad has made his choice. He doesn't get to guilt you into accepting his choice now and try to force you into his happy family fantasy. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Yeah, it feels like he's forcing me to accept her and be a happy family. Yeah. No, you're under no obligation to accept a woman, especially one that he's not. That is very pivotal. They're my stepmother is not my dad. Then she's not. She's not even the step. She is. She's a girl your dad is dating. She's not even a real stepmother. I love my stepmom, so I don't have that problem. I love my stepdad too. man, my family is like, all right, my mom and dad divorced, they both remarried, so now I have two step parents, and they both happen to be awesome. So win-win. All right, I have a giant family. But I yeah, I think definitely not the a-hole, and they shouldn't be forcing you to be in a relationship and be around somebody that genuinely you don't enjoy being around. That doesn't make any sense. All right, I think that's going to do it for me today. I do plan on doing more of these, and I know I said I was going to do my reaction to the Jubilee video. I'm going to save that for April 1st, and it's not an April Fool's Day joke. It's just that's going to be the day I do that. So there's 2 Jubilee videos out that I'm in. So this is the trad men versus progressive men, and it's in 2 parts. So I'll do some commentary and reaction to those videos. It was a fun experience, and I definitely want to talk about it. And I'll actually be next week also doing an interview with the guy, or a discussion with the guy that I debated. So that'll be cool. Anyway, if you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell to stay notified every time I go live. And I will be upping my game this next month. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a blessed night. Deuces.